Good evening, everyone. Welcome to First Center for Spiritual Living. This is our self-healing class. It's the class where we teach, present some of the Louise Hay lessons on healing. This is incidentally the center where Louise Hay received her education. She was a practitioner here. We're going to do an opening. I'd like to invite somebody from our audience to come up. Tonight, we're happy to have a studio audience again. It's good to see people coming back to New York. So I'll ask Robert to come up and do the opening affirmative prayer. This is Robert Villanova.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Okay, so let's go within and know the truth that tonight's lesson is one of spiritual empowerment, and that we are open and receptive to hear the word, that there is but one mind, and that mind is operating through each and every one of us. And we are open to hear the spiritual awakening that resides within each and every one of us. Awakened by means of this lesson, by means of Dr. Greg speaking from his heart, from his soul, from his passion that vibrates within every word that he speaks, knowing that it is the absolute truth. And for this, we give thanks. So it is.
Thank you, Robert. It's good to be here. It's good to see some of the faces and the names. And again, it's especially good to see some people joining us again. I'm aware now that our broadcasts are live, on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, and we're getting feedback from people who are watching the broadcast weeks later. So whenever you're hearing this, I want to welcome you to our class and our teaching. I know you're fortunate if you found your way into a religious science center, into a Louise Hay class. I'm going to go over tonight some healing principles that Louise Hay has always taught. So let us begin. Louise Hay would say, all healing is self-healing. And that sounds good, and it's true. When we present the Thursday material, we're always giving you new ways to think about life and how to empower yourself. A saying that's been with me since I was a younger man, which is I'll give to you tonight, is whatever you're thinking, whatever you're dwelling upon, whatever is bothering you, it's only a thought you're having about something, and a thought can always be changed. So sometimes we think we're in these situations that are untenable, and terrible, and with relationships or finances or health or anything. And, the doctors tell you this, or your girlfriend or boyfriend have told you that, or someone doesn't love you or tells you they don't love you. And you're told a lot of things. And the thing is, the point of power is with you always, though you don't always realize that. Each of us are centers of power. Ernest Holmes said there's power for good in the universe, greater than you, of which you are a part, and you can use that power. And the thing is, most of the world doesn't have a clue that they have the kind of power that they have at their disposal. The problem is not powerlessness, because as I just said, you have plenty of power. But the challenge is to learn, first of all, to learn how to use that power, become aware that you have that power. As it pertains to Louise Hay, her great work, which came out in the mid-'80s with the book You Can Heal Your Life, which is an international bestseller, I think 66 million copies or something like that. Her book circled the globe for a reason. She was tapping into a fundamental set of issues that everyone seems to have to deal with. The bottom line for everybody, Louise would say, is I don't feel good enough about myself, or I feel I've let people down, I've let myself down. I'm still listening to those inner voices, that come from the time I was a little boy or a little girl, not good enough and not successful and not pretty, not strong, not enough. And Louise said, no matter what the experiences are, and she says, I've been doing this and listening to thousands of reasons. She'll say it really comes down to those central issues for people is they on some level, in some way, there is a sense of not being enough, not being good enough. So I guess I would ask anybody tonight for you to reflect upon yourself growing up. Maybe when you were a teenager, you're starting to deal with adulthood, and you have an identity and you have all these roles you're beginning to play. Maybe you're running the house. You're the little girl that's running the home, and your parents aren't there, or one of them's gone, or maybe you're the boy who is gay and it's not being supported, or maybe you're, there's a lot of things that we get programmed with. And it puts us at odds with ourselves because, each of us, as Louise Hay would say, as she did say, come into this world as beautiful little beings of light and wonder and joy. And we exist that way still as pure potential, what could be our lives. But we have all this stuff that gets in the way. And the stuff that gets in the way is what we constantly are saying to ourselves. So I guess I would challenge everybody tonight is to ask yourself the question, am I thinking any thoughts that are really my own? So I'll take a sip of coffee. You can think about that. Am I thinking any thoughts that are really my own? I love that question because I remember 20 years ago reading in the Course in Miracles, they'd have a coffee cup. Every 15 minutes, you look at the coffee cup and you would say, everything this coffee cup means is what I'm thinking about it, nothing more. And so what I became aware of when I was younger is I'm creating my own reality all over the place. Every thought I think about a coffee cup or about Robert or about life or about people, about sexuality, about whatever it is, these are all my creations. And as Louise so beautifully said, it's only a thought you're having about anything or anyone, and a thought can be changed. So there's a lot of wisdom contained in those few sentences, because think of where we get ourselves all bunched up. Okay, there's got to be something in your life where you have, hopefully not, but I mean, for most of us, there's some people you've got some bad feelings toward. You're hanging on to some resentments. You're holding anger. And I'm going to ask a smart ass question. How's that working out for you? How is it working out for you hanging on to those resentments? How has that been working out for you lately? Well, Louise Hay has the answers to all of that as well, because she would suggest that we release the past and forgive everybody. I said everybody. I'll say it again. Everybody. I have all these one-liners. It happens after 30 or 40 years. All our battered places need to come to light. Okay, so how can that happen? Well, so you want to start to think, okay, I'm here to create a world, in my own mind at least, where nothing and no one is against me. I need to drop all these conversational points which will suggest that I'm not adequate, not good enough, that there's something wrong with me. We're here to come into this teaching and realize how absolutely wonderful you are. You are as God created you. This is a line I love also. I am as God created me in the light and the love and the glory. You're as good as it gets. And you really are. You are a point of consciousness within the mind of God, a point of awareness within the mind of God. You have everything you ever needed. You've come fully equipped. The problem is you don't always know that, and you don't remember that. And you forget. And you forget. And then you tell yourself stories, tales of, well, poor me, and ain't it awful, and no one loves and nobody cares, and all of that type of stuff. And how's that working out when you're carrying around all of that type of ideas, that languaging? That's the stuff that weighs you down. It's the stuff that Ernest Holmes speaks about when he talks about dead wood or corpses. And it causes me to ask you the question, are you thinking any original thoughts? That first question was posed to me as I was reading a book as a young man called The Awakening of Intelligence by Krishnamurti, because the book is really quite brilliant. It's probably one of the most brilliant books ever encountered. It will just once again tell me I'm creating everything, and so are you. Okay, so you're like Shakespeare. You're writing the chapters of your own book. And I've got we have people here tonight, so it's more fun for me. I could create this one to be Prince Charming, and this one could be the court jester. And then we have a lovely lady of the court, and and I get to create you all to be whatever I create you to be. Now, that might have absolutely nothing to do with what the truth of you is, right? Because I'm aware that each of you are individualizations of this consciousness, this beautiful life. But I might be tripping out because here's Prince Charming and here's Lady whatever she is. And so you might want to look in your own life how you do that. You react to people. But before that, just come with the premise that you carry into your day a lot of preconceived ideas. Now, what's a preconceived idea? I'll let you think about that for a second. Some of you know me a long time, so you've got a whole bunch of preconceived ideas about me, and that's okay. It's normal, right? Because you've been tripping about me as long as you know me, and I've probably been doing some of that with you. But the thing is, as you enter, if you really want to be a good metaphysician, you have to find the way to be in a new moment. Because otherwise you're going to carry the stuff, all your encounters of the past with this person, and then how can you really hear them? How can I hear you and be present to you if my mind is already clouded with all this junk? And people stay in relationships with each other for months, years. And after a while, they're not talking with one another anymore because they've already decided all this stuff. How do I know this? Ever been to couples therapy? So you go to couples therapy and you'll sit there and the other person will sit there and there'll be some neutral party. You'll say, would you please repeat back what this person just said? And then the other person will try to repeat back and you'll be amazed how people don't hear each other anymore because they've already decided. So we teach in this teaching, look to this day, attempt to be in a new moment, for in this new moment is life and the possibility of every good thing. But there needs to be a new moment for that to happen. We live, we move, we have our identities. We're spiritual beings, and yet we carry all this, the racket. This would be what they would teach with Landmark Foundation, the racket, where the 4 agreements would say the smoke got in the way, so you're not reflecting the light because it's all these beliefs, the belief system, the accumulated debris of years of hurt and pain prevent you from being that authentic bundle of joy that you really are. So we come into this class and we work with self-healing, and we understand that every thought we think, every single one is creating life and creating our future. We learn here how to be lifters. So how do you lift? I can't lift any of you up unless I get my own conversation cleaned up first. So charity begins at home. The charity that I'm talking about is loving myself enough to be nice to myself and generous to myself, and becoming my own best friend. As I'm able to do that and quiet that inner crappy kind of conversation down and just tone it down, as you're able to do that with yourself and for yourself, what happens is you become an easier person to be around. You become more interesting. You become more fun. You become more attractive. Louise Hay so eloquently pointed out in the book, she'll say, stop shoulding on people. Just stop shoulding on people. Wherever and however you keep using that word, you're just extending that idea of not good enough, not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. And that really works the exact opposite way. You know, in the book, she'll say, if you notice you use the word should 47 times a day, and I do remember laughing when I first read this. She says, it might indicate that you have some patterns of rigidity within you. And I think, do you think? I mean, think about it. You know, should. You should. How the heck does that feel? You just want to run from that, right? Okay. And the thing is, anybody who's doing that a lot, and I can think of people in my life, many over the years, each and every case, these are good people, right? And they're well-intentioned, but people flee from them. Why do you suppose? I mean, do you like people telling you what to do all the time and all of that? How does it feel? Okay. So we're here to do the work on who? Ourselves, right? Okay, there's plenty of work to be done, I can promise you, for any of us. All healing, as Louise pointed out, is self-healing. So it's really about healing, working, uplifting that conversation, that most important conversation you're having with the most important person in the world. And for you, that has to, hopefully, it's you. If the most important person in your life is somebody else, see, that's kind of like a problem. You know, what we learn here first and foremost is to learn to love and honor the self. And then, you know, then you begin to love your brothers as you love yourself. Okay. But it begins with you. So what's the work to do? The work to do is to learn to live the affirmative life. Okay. We have lots of tools. These classes are really good. Plug in every week whenever you can. Remembering and forgetting. Okay, so we mess up. And so each day when we find ourselves in a story or in some place of disconnect, the job or the opportunity is to get back on track as soon as possible, as soon as we can remember. So that's the work we do. There's lots of techniques. There's in fact 7 that I can think of, but meditating, doing affirmative prayer, learning to live the affirmative life, learning to realize it's never about the other guy. What do I mean by that? Whatever the heck is in your craw, whatever the heck it is bothering you, is not about anyone other than ourselves. You're the person who has power. You're the person who gets to decide what bothers you. When you're really, really working it right, or working it well, you're going to realize that everyone is doing the best that they can. And it has nothing to do with what? You. When people are out there whirling around, doing whatever they're doing, why does that have to be your problem? Okay, don't we understand from our teaching this notion, perfect place, perfect time? I love that one. Not always easy to remember it at the right time. Perfect place, perfect time, and all the time. That would suggest no matter what the heck is going on, all is well, and I'm in the perfect place. It's the perfect time, and all is well, and everybody is doing the best they can. So I can maintain an inner state of peace. Remember the line from the Course in Miracles that I love. The peace of God is my one goal, my purpose, my function, and my life. So we're learning to live the affirmative life. We're learning to heal our life. We're using all the Louise Hay tools. We're using the tools given us by Ernest Holmes. We realize that we are creating the whole thing, day by day and hour by hour. We ask every Thursday evening for you to consider, when I ask that question, what's it been like being you this week? And have you been starting to be your own cheerleader? That's what I want to hear. I've been better to myself. I've been less critical of myself. I've been cheering myself on. And the thing is, because as you really learn to love yourself, then everything starts to improve in all quarters of your life. Louise Hay would say, self-acceptance and self-approval in the now are the keys to all positive changes. So you take a look, and if you see yourself criticizing yourself in any way, stop. Just stop and tell yourself the opposite. Say, I am worthy. I am lovable. I am wildly successful, and I'm as good as it, I'm good as it gets. Really kind of upgrade that conversation. We can transform. We are transforming. Those of you who practice this teaching, who are learning to live the affirmative life, you heal everything and anything. Your relationships get better. Your health gets better. Your wealth gets better, because what you're doing in consciousness and mind is you're opening up avenues to the good that's always been here and present. The kingdom of goodness or God is always here. It's all available all the time. It's only awaiting your realization of that divine fact. So that'll be it for this evening, and we can open it up to the floor after like a brief break, and you can share what your dialogue's been, with the most important person in your world. So give us just one moment.